My name's Guy Kestevan, and this is the brand new Santa Cruz Vala. And without wanting to say the bleeding obvious, it's in 4-bar. So why have Santa Cruz seemingly thrown 22 years of VPP development in the bin? They haven't, we'll get to that later. And what does that mean for this bike on the trail? Let's crack on and find out. So this is one of the first bikes out with the new Bosch CX system, which is just better. Slightly more efficient, so although this is a smaller battery than the Bullet, you'll actually get further on it. And it's, I have to say, they always say, oh, it's got a really intuitive ride feel, but that's literally my first little bit of climbing on it. And it's not an easy bit, but yeah. Oh, typical. I say it's easy to control and then do that straight away. But no, not a massive amount of overrun, just enough. And obviously, as per usual, you can tune all that in the SmartFlow app. But let's be honest, you know, I'm not your motor expert. I'm sure someone like Rob Rides E-MTB or the lads at MBR will get upset if I mention Rob Rides E-MTB. We'll have a full lowdown on the motor. So go there to really learn about the motor. The main thing that's a win for me, from a consumer facing point of view, is Bosch is just really reliable, and they'll sort you out anywhere in the world, which you can't say for all the motor manufacturers. And from anecdotal evidence, they just seem way more sort of tolerant to things like jet. I mean, you shouldn't ever jet wash them or drown them in any other way, but they do seem a much more reliable system than most. Of course, the big difference with this Vala, because you've got that 4-bar suspension, is that you can run a Bosch and get much closer to the direction Santa Cruz are heading with the anti-squat on their other bikes. So basically, kinematic is almost identical to the Bronson. So it starts at 118%, it's around 110, 100 at sag, and then levels off to just over 70. Whereas you look at something like the Heckler SL, 133% anti-squat at the start of the stroke and drops down to 50. And if you look at the original, because I mean on the Heckler SL you've only got it that low because that Fazua motor is pretty small. If you look at the OG Heckler, because that's got a Shimano motor, which again is a full-size motor like this, anti-squat on that was 160. That's a massive amount of pedalling jack, and that's really obvious when you're cruising up stuff like this, where there's plenty of blunts and blocks that would otherwise really catch in your pedal stroke. This bar is just rolling up them, super smooth. But the thing I was worried about, because just come off the high tower, to be honest, I thought pedalled a bit better than the Bronson because it had more anti-squat, is that this still feels really positive when you put the power down. So when you're rolling along here, a little stab of the pedals still feels really nice and connected. There's no, I'm not crushing the suspension down with my feet. Still feels really crisp and engaged. Because to be honest, looking at the spec, I was like, oh, bloody hell, ultra soft DH front tyre, DH rear rim. I actually said to Dickon, who's riding up front, before he came around, he's like, well, it's clear that trail bikes are downhill bikes now, but rolling along here, I'm gonna have to eat my words. It actually feels handy, agile, pedalable, and yeah. And if you haven't noticed, this is the same trails as the road the Heckler SL was on, so it's a proper comparison. Right, and now we're going to play the fun game of how many geostats can Kez get right while following Dix down the top of this trail. So, head angle 63.9 or 64.2, depending on where that geo chip is. Seat angle 77.2 or 77.5. Reach 478. Chainstay length 443, with a range of 439 to 450 on the 5 different sizes. Then BB height 3.4. Oh, now I've got to think. 3.44, I think, which is a 29.11. Oh, I always get that bit wrong. Damn it. BB drop at either end, because obviously mullet build, the effective BB drop is different either end. Then wheelbase, which I think one thing I haven't mentioned, 1268. And if you've been following Santa Cruz developments recently, you realise that's pretty much identical to the Bronson, in the same way that the 160 150mm travel is as well. So yeah, it really does follow that theme, I have to say, and pretty close to Heckler SL as well. Heckler's just a little bit steeper in the head angle from memory. Whew. Well, what's interesting coming down there is obviously this bike is heavier, roughly 2 kilos. She's got that 600 watt-hour battery, full size 85 newton meter motor rather than the 60 newton meter 430 watt battery set up on that Heckler SL. Is how well this moves about. I'm not going to say it just rides like a normal bike, because that'd be a lie. You know, it's still a chunky beast of considerable mass. I mean, it's 21.4 kilos, which again, to be fair to Santa Cruz, is actually lighter, only by a couple of 100 grams, but these things matter when a lot of people lie. It's actually lighter than Santa Cruz say it is. So, but even on a Friday afternoon when I'm getting used to it, this just feels really nimble and well weighted. Obviously not quite as well weighted to me as it does to Dickon, who's just jumped on and absolutely dropped me. But there you go. C'est la vie. I think that's the only place, yeah, the geometry significantly differs from Bronson, is the seat angle's not quite as steep on this. And the BB's not quite as low. But obviously having a motor makes climbing a lot easier. And there is plenty of tap. Obviously you've got 4 modes, you've got Eco, Tour, E-MTB, and then Turbo. And you get them through a handlebar controller or on the top tube, and with this new wireless system, no cables anywhere, and it means you can just remove that bar button if you want to and go fully top tube only switch gear. So that still gives you control of all the modes. And that extra supple Schwalbe radial rubber doing the business out the back for sure. 2.5, both ends. That's the maximum tyre size you can put in this bike, but although it's not strictly radial, but yeah, more radial than it was. Tyre tech. Right, this has got rinsed out. This will be a good test for the connection. Come on, guys. Don't let Dix beat you. Oh, no. I'm glad you were showing how it should be done, Dix. Can't quite. This is my pathetic excuse time. Can't quite pull on that bar properly since my little hand dab on the high tower a week ago. Week, 2 weeks, whatever. Santa Cruz have been bloody busy. Right, can we get started from here? Always a good test of motor to man synchronization. Is it just going to put me on my back? No, you see, whole point of that E-MTB mode is it feeds in power appropriately in response to you. So, I mean, I actually stopped deliberately there. I meant to get it wrong, honest, just so I could show you how easy it was to set off with that E-MTB mode. Maybe not. No one's going to believe that, are they? But yeah, I mean, Dickon showed the reason why they've gone to a lower anti-squat there, just by tramming straight up a load of janky junk. Nicely done, love.
Car.
I know I did that. Oh, should I test e-bikes or not? Thought piece from Hard Rock a bit ago, but moments like this, it's hard not to just go, yeah, e-bikes are pretty damn good. Yeah, hard week on the bike, and I've just come up here like it's been absolutely nothing. Oh, oh, not quite. I was hoping I could get straight up that. Took me a few times on the Heckler SL. Let's have another few goes. And if you're wondering why they haven't played big battery games, not only is this new motor more efficient, but just means they can save weight in the frame construction, weight in the battery, because this is a kilo lighter, this 600 watt hour battery, than the 800 watt hour equivalent. Plus, you can get a 250 watt hour extender anyway, if you want to go full epic. But it also means they can give this bike a really nice streamlined form factor. Yes, you can get like Canyons with a mega battery that actually weigh a similar amount, you know, fair play to them for the packaging on that, but they don't half look pregnant. Whereas this looks really neat, and it handles really neatly as well. Again, doesn't have the super low battery under the motor, twisted motor tech that, you know, people like White and others are copying now. But in terms of putting its front wheel where you want the front wheel to be, and just pop in and manual in really easily, just feels like a really, really natural bike. And it's not over stiff either. In fact, this 38 Grip X2 that felt a bit too much on the high tower on the Bronson feels like it's really being worked well by the larger unsprung mass ratio on this e-bike, so just settling into its travel easier. So the whole bike just feels more balanced. Yeah, I mean, that's it really. It feels more balanced, and that's something that Santa Cruz are absolutely nailing at the moment. Yeah, if you're not an e-biker, you'll hopefully have watched me high tower and Bronson videos, but even if you are, go back and look at them, because that's the one big takeaway from those bikes, is how sorted they are at all speeds in terms of going where you want them to, with the kind of weight you want on each tyre. Right, so this section is going to be really interesting because it's quite a lot of slap rock down here, and as you can see, nicely wet gritstone, and in theory more anti-squat should be better on this kind of rock, but woo! This 4-bar gives you more fluidity on the in-between bits, and I can certainly feel that in the roll there. I mean, obviously these radial tyres might play a part too, but oh yes, thank you Vala. That was a definite Vala over Vala moment. I was chickening out, but absolutely nailed that one. Ooh, whole new line, to be honest. Yes, still my feet in. Beautifully done, bike. That was sweet. And also a big difference with this bike is the anti-squat is way lower on this 4-bar than it is on the VPP, so braking stays a lot more active, but also a lot more consistent throughout the stroke. Forgot to get the exact numbers in my head before I dropped in, because frankly I was tapping my wee waterproof pants about that section in the wet, but as it turns out, there's zero drama thanks to Vala. Wow, she turns. Look at that. I mean, it'd be really easy to get high-sided and strung up on most e-bikes through there, but turned in really sweetly. And again, you know, these little sniper sections, I'm fine running it wide and then bringing the back end in and not feeling like I have to transit ban it or really hyperlean it to account for extra shunt on or high siding tendency. It just rides like a bike. Yes, an e-bike, but a really, really good one. Phenomenally good, in fact. There's, you know, they're new to the e-bike game. Sorry, no, they're new to the 4-bar game. I mean, to be fair, they've not been in the e-bike game as long as most people. But considering they've got best part of 22 years with VPP, they've only got months a year, maybe, with 4-bar. But they have done an absolutely awesome job with it. To be honest, I thought the whole... Oh yes, well, we've just got really good engineers, so when we do 4-bar, our 4-bar is going to be better than anybody else's 4-bar. Which, frankly, a bit arrogant, but they put the money where the mouth is, and they speak the truth. You know, and it's trails like that. We just say, Dick and I were just chatting off camera, as it were. Trails like that make you appreciate the fact that it's got that 38 4-con. Oh, nice bit of run on there. After I managed to unclip at the wrong moment. That makes a real difference to what it can tackle in terms of just head-on hooliganism. And it really does work on this bike. You know, whether you team 12 radial or not, this bike has amazing ground connection. But it's not just the tyre spec, it's the fact that, you know, you've got 4 bearings in those rear chainstay pivots, and then Santa Cruz's classic collet bearings in that really neat one-piece rocker link. You know, they've not just lashed this bike together, it's a proper 4-bar version of all those things that people become Santa Cruz super fans about. And that also includes not just lifetime warranty on those collet pivots I've just talked about, but a lifetime warranty on the frame, and in this case on these reserve carbon wheels. So you're getting a proper, legally reassuring tank to tackle these trails on. Plus it's just all the little stuff, like, you know, they've got their own solar factory where they make these bikes. They sell through properly good dealers. they don't do direct. There's a load of reasons why they do come up a bit more expensive, but they're not just yet another 4-bar suspension bike. But most of all, it's just the ride of this Vala. Absolutely cock on. And it's not just well supported if something does go wrong. The whole point is that they try and minimise things going wrong in the first place. So, you know, they admit they could have made the frame lighter for sure, but they want a frame that's properly strong enough to lean into, you know, get really leery with, and come out with your bike and yourself intact. You know, those bearings in the rocker linkage are all self-serviceable 5mm head collet bearings that you can pull apart, re-grease, readjust. Oh, hello. Hello. No worries. The only thing you haven't got, compared to previous BPP bikes, you haven't actually got a grease guard nipple in them to inject grease into. But I'd always kind of liked it and used to call it out as a positive. I think the last time I actually used it was on the Blur LT, probably about 20 years ago. So, you know, I think we can do without it, folks. And it's still a fully serviceable setup around just wear 'em and bin 'em cartridge bearings. And it's making, no, I'm not going to say that after the last time on the high tower.
Is that all tea tastes better with milk?
Oh. Oh, now YouTube playing in my pocket. Utter shambles.
I believe that a hot dog is a sandwich. I believe that anything you put in moving bread.
Great, an American hot dog advert. So, trying to say something like cheesy, like, well, this is an American hot dog. Whoa! I got around that. Now that is a major win. Can shut up about hot dogs, YouTube. That, if you want a good example of how well balanced that bike was and how well it responds to pedalling, go and check out all my fails on that corner on that Hecker SL, which is a really well balanced bike with similar geometry, but just because this doesn't jack up quite as much under power, even though it's a more powerful motor, up she goes and round, zero problems. Happy days on the Vala. And there's a bunch of other advantages in going with this 4-bar system. Yes! Got you, you bugger. So Santa Cruz we're kind of working towards anyway. I mean, you can see the shock really clearly for setting up and seeing how much travel you've used. So you can know whether to flip that progression chip on the base of the shock. So you've got 26 or 29% progression. And that's separate to the Geo chip, by the way. So you've got that 0.3 angle change without affecting shock progression. So nice little bit of independent adjustment there. What else was I saying? You know, that's something that Santa Cruz have just moved forward towards on that new split bird's nest design on the new high tower in Bronson. But obviously doing that just pops, doesn't it? Just pops. I'm trying to talk serious tech, and then just how well it rides keeps getting in the way of my serious speak. But to be honest, you can Google all that stuff, or I might even put it in the caption if you look. It's the fact that second time down here, I'm taking all the fun lines, and it is absolutely loving it, even with a hammered hand. Look at that, just leans in nicely. Don't need to do a mega lean. It's not hamming it for the camera leans. It's just an appropriate bit of angling, and the bike responds appropriately because it is well balanced, and it just looks right, you know. It's a Spitfire wing kind of deal in many ways. It rides right, but it looks right as well. Yes, it's a proper, bloody hell, Santa Cruz have done a 4-bar. Are they mad? And I'm sure the Pink Bike Forum is going to be awash with all sorts of statements like that. But actually, speaking to the Santa Cruz guys, it's just a case of what's appropriate for this use case. It doesn't mean we've seen the end of VPP by any stretch. You know, there's still going to be applications where it's still going to make most sense. And the Blur, you know, the cross-country bike, that's flex day pivot anyway, because that was appropriate for that usage. And now 4-bar's the only way. I mean, there's a nice overlay. I'll try and do some tongue out artwork, cutting and pasting it, but basically, oh, so easy. Just lining it up and dropping in there and then just flicking it around here. Like Dickens says, you can move the back end of this bike around without pulling the shoes of your soles off. It's just, I got a little correction, but it's enough. Where was I? Yeah, I mean, Santa Cruz obviously have a track record of using other suspension setups anyway, you know. Loads of single pivots back in the day, and then the nickel. Was it the dime? Nickel and dime, if you remember them? Phew. Oh God, it lands that beautifully. Oh, a little 4-bar sticky shorts moment there. That was special. Because all 4-bars are not created equal is perhaps the biggest takeaway of riding this Vala today. They might be late to the FSR Horse Link party, but they have turned up with a hell of a kinematic entourage, and I think they're going to be making the headlines with it. Because there's Danny from MBR texting me just when I got here before I started riding. He says, "That looks to be the best of the new Bosch bikes. I hope it rides as well as it looks." And frankly, right now, that's a big yes.
Yeah, indeed.
Slightly more poverty spec Vala, modelled by Mr. Deccan Hapworth.
For me.
From Ponhup.
For me.
Slumming it just for the camera. But still 38 with a grip damper. Grip X2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which feels really good in this bike.
Yeah.
Oh, someone wants to know how many battery bars. I mean, it's irrelevant really, because you don't know how hard I've pedalled and stuff like that. I should probably do a range run or some watch. If I find a good one, I'll do it. I'll link it. If not, I'll do my own. But yeah, 3 bars left. We've had a proper play out.
3 bars, same here.
Dickon should hopefully be in time to pick up his kids from school. And that is where e-bikes really make a difference, in it, is making easier e-bikes, making e-biking easier. Mountain biking, we'll get there in the end, mate. It's Friday afternoon, folks. Making mountain biking easier to fit into your daily life.
Don't neglect your kids.
Well, I did. I think it turned out better, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, Dickon doesn't, because he rides an e-bike. Bosch e-bikes make you a better father. There you go. There's the verdict.
Exactly.
Oh, cheers, mate. That's been sick.
Nice one, guy.
So, there we go. First ride, Santa Cruz Vala. I'm hoping to get out another ride on this bike, because frankly, I've absolutely bloody loved it and I want to get some more time on it. But I'll also obviously clean the bike up, do a proper tech check around on it, find out as much as I can about that motor, talk you through all these details, because there is a lot of change. There's a lot to talk about with this one, a lot to unpack, mate. So we'll be doing that, and in the meantime, massive thanks to my channel sponsors. Huge thanks to my Patreon subscribers who pledge on a monthly basis and get extended ad-free and extended edits to enjoy, and they also get an extra level of kind of answering questions about what bike should they buy, what tyres should they sniff, you know, that kind of thing, horoscopes, you know, all the sorts of added value stuff that hopefully my 28 years nearly experience testing mountain bikes can bring to their lives. So if you really like what I'm doing on the channel, please consider subscribing to Patreon, link at the end. Click for notifications, subscribe, because most of you still haven't, and that makes me sad, because if you subscribe, the little number in the corner goes up and YouTube goes, ah, right, we should flog this bloke out more, and I can do more videos, you get to watch more, and the channel grows, and it's all good and grand for everybody. And gives it a thumbs up like, which is why I keep waving my thumb at the camera, because apparently that matters as well. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven on Guy Kest TV with Dick and Epworth from Pornhub, riding and rather obviously enjoying the creamily consistent 4-bar frothing up with the mouth excitement of riding the new Santa Cruz Vala. Very different in some ways, but also beautifully the same. It's a quandary, but a fun one.